This is round 5 of the North American Open, and I opened with the London as usual. And so he played the King's Indian. And what I used to do against this was e4 and queen d2, castling queen z and bishop h6. And well, now I don't think it's that great, but I completely forgot about the London, well, about the lines that are not the main lines, is what I mean. Queen d2 and then castling, I played bishop h6, which was an inaccuracy because castling would be a lot safer. And what usually follows is c6 and something like this, but I didn't do that. He played knight c6 and I castled. Bishop e2 was an okay move, I guess, but I think h4 would be a little better because it's a little more aggressive. This doesn't work because f3 just wins a tempo and he'd have to go back. So bishop e2, because bishop e2 doesn't make much sense either. It doesn't really have anywhere it wants to go, because white's gonna have to play f3 and he's also gonna have to retreat his knight to e2 at one point, because black will play a6, b5 and attack your knight, and this knight's defending the e4 pawn. So I played a6, following with the plan d5 and knight a7. f4 was an okay move, but he made a blunder, which was e5. It's a blunder because the computer says so. It's a lot more positional than tactical, tactical advantage. Because here now you play bishop f3, knight b5, and just knight g2. It is probably maybe easier to play in, because, well, this I just let him gain space if I don't take it. Well, en passant, because if I take like this, it's still going to be here. So h3 was a blunder because, well, that's even worse, because before if I just played this, at least he wouldn't have the d6 pawn. But now in this h3, he can, well, h3 has no plan. It's just g4, but then where do you go? h4 was probably better, and he played b5, I played bishop f3, and then he played b4, which is the entire idea. But I don't think that going to knight a7 was good, but there aren't that many places to go in. But knight a7 is a weird spot to be in. I don't know if it affected much. b4 and then a5. And I continued my attack, but I really don't see anything that I can continue with. f5 doesn't work. I'd have to play h4, but this g4 pawn is weak. So this attack's not that great. So h4 against these fianchetto lines are always better than g4. That's probably some kind of against like the 3 pawns here, like a normal castle. But yeah, the game continued with g5 and queen b8, knight g8. So I don't think this is such a good square to go to. It does cover these two squares, but what's it gonna do there? I can't really do anything with h6. But knight g8, yeah, h6 is maybe a square for me to use, but it's not that useful if I don't have the h file open, which is why I should play h4, but I never did that. So he played a4, he's also expanding. I played f5, and what I really did in this game was just to close the king side so he can attack on the queen side. So my plan should have been to open files and all that, but I really just closed up the position. A3 was a bad move because it opens the B file if he did what he did. But here the best move would probably be C takes B, because now after A takes I can play A3, and well, he'd have to open the C file, but then I'd play King B and then Rook C1. But I played A3 and Knight B5, he's gonna go to D4, which is not good. But I played F6, and in a miracle, he didn't play King H8, but he actually took. That's a huge mistake because now his king's in the center and he's down a piece. King H8, I couldn't really continue with my attack because he'd be quicker. Just to say, now the queen has to move to maybe F2. No, Rook A5. Rook A6 doesn't work because the C square isn't there. But yeah, this is just a rook lift to get to the C file, and say if I wanted to keep going, he'd probably give this check and maybe take my queen. And then after taking this, it's probably even, but I mean the chances are still better for black. Anyhow, because say you have to take this, and well, he can maybe double. Not yeah, black can double on the B file, and white still has no play on the H file. He can maybe double on the H file. That would be kind of scary, but this just completely demolishes white, because say if he plays rook h2, I just take this and he can only go here, and this is basically mate. Not yet, but okay, and this is mate. That was a long variation, but that's basically the point. My attack is still slower than black, and if I have no queen, that'd be way too slow. Because before I could play queen h2 and take this, and then mate, and that would almost, well, he can still defend it. But in this case, I don't even have a queen to attack on the h file. So that's why king h8 is a lot better than knight takes f6. And I just developed my last piece that are really bad coordinated. And he played at f5. I played h4, which was a blunder, because here, if I just took this, it would open black's king, and it's really exposed at this point. He has to take back with this. This would just be trading more, and obviously that wouldn't be good for him. So yeah, he can only take with the pawn, and then maybe rook e3, and I can infiltrate. So I played h4, which was a blunder. He took, and I took bishop f5, and then bishop takes f5. He played g takes f5, I played rook f1, he played f4, and I doubled. So here I'm threatening to take this if he ever takes this knight, and then I would just win a rook. So obviously that's not the right thing, so he played queen b7, and then I played queen takes h7, it's a hanging pawn, and his king's way too weak. He played rook f7, and here I had a forced win, I think, with knight f5, and no matter where he goes, he's still gonna get mated. This is mate, not mate yet, but you know, this king's already here. I think that's already enough. But oh yeah, it's rook takes f4. I actually did the wrong thing. Rook takes f4 just wins on the spot. Now there's mate, and king 8's the same because of queen g8, rook f8, and then this. And that's why knight f5 wins right away. I played queen a4. I still have a huge advantage, but it could have finished a lot quicker. And I took here. I calculated for so long if this would work, just to gain an extra pawn, but yeah, it worked. Because if he took here, I would be winning. Because, okay, if he wants to take this, there's mate in 2. If he didn't take it, his king is already exposed enough. If he wants to take with the rook, queen h7, I think, and then king c8, and queen g8, king d7. But the point is, this is basically winning. Oh wait, yeah, the computer does have a line. Not knight f5, but it's, yeah, it's queen f8. But yeah, you basically get the point. This wins. So that was a really long line, but so he played queen a7, I took, and then he played king c8. I went here and queen c4, queen c5. We traded queens, and then after this, it's completely fun. I didn't really have to show you the entire game after this, so I didn't. And yeah, I really liked my rook sacrifice. It was kind of unnecessary, but it was the best move. Because where else was I gonna do? Breaking through like this is probably the best. But if I'd found that f5, I would have finished the round a lot quicker, and then I wouldn't have to, well, play the next game immediately. But okay, this was already at 6 p.m., so it was the last round. Yeah, that's about all for this video, and yeah, bye bye.